Hey folks, I'm Pete from BTI. Welcome to another episode of Fresh Produce. Today we've got another really cool interview lined up for you. We've got Quinn from OneUp Components. They're a super unique company making a lot of unique products. So let's get right into it. Quinn, welcome to Fresh Produce. Thanks for joining me.
Hi Pete, thanks for having me.
Awesome. All right, so like I said, OneUp just makes so many unique products, or has a unique take on a lot of products that maybe are done by other people as well. So I think the company really stands out, and I think you'll be a pretty interesting interview for our viewers as well. Thanks for joining us. All right, so let's just dive right in. Is there a design philosophy that you think OneUp kind of starts out with when thinking or creating a new product?
Yeah, so there's definitely like a little phrase that we have internally where we say we make the stuff that we want to have on our bikes. So it kind of comes from a company that was started by engineers. They're really problem solving driven. So going back to the first product that they made, which was the 42 tooth cog. I don't know if you remember that thing, and that came directly from a problem of the original 11 speed cassettes like wearing out, being expensive to replace.
Yeah.
And actually being hard to get in some instances. And they're like, well, why can't we just make 10 speed work like 11 speed? And so that kind of like problem solving. But as the company's evolved and we started to go beyond just purely like, new products and things like kind of new categories, just like, okay, we make a handlebar. We want a handlebar that we make. How can we make it better? Like, how can we make a handlebar that's better? So as you go on a ride, you're like, oh, this part of my bike sucks. Like, I want this to be better. And it really starts from there. And there's such a wealth of just bike riding experience and product design and engineering and manufacturing and like everything down to like shipping, customer service, all that stuff, just like that the team has that it gets applied to the products and then they kind of come to life in a pretty unique way.
Yeah, and speaking of the bars, like I think that's a good example because you step so far out of like the normal realm. Like other manufacturers are like thinking, how can we make the internal of the bar do the shape differently so to offer this performance that we want. You guys were just like, no, we're going to shape the whole bar differently, and yeah, just super unique again. So I think that highlights exactly what I was getting at. Pretty cool. Okay, so I do ride with a bunch of OneUp components on my bike. Specifically, like I show our viewers all the time, I ride with the pump and the EDC tool right inside the pump. And then I do like to shift it between bikes really easy as well. But the EDC was really originally made to fit in the steer tube of bikes, right? So, and I know now we have this new, let's see, it's like the steer tube carrier, so you don't have to thread the steer tube anymore. Can you go over like the three different types of EDC tools and carriers and how those fit into the steer tubes of different bikes? Maybe who they would be designed for as well.
Yeah, and it's good. And we still offer the original threaded version, which is like the idea for EDC actually came from John Staples, our head engineer, wanting to make the lightest star nut possible. And
get rid of it.
And that thing weighs, I don't know, something crazy like 12 grams or something.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah, so it's way lighter than a steel star nut that's hammered into your frame. And then they put it there and they're like, oh wow, we have this space now. And that's where the idea was like, okay, then they started developing EDC to fit the tool in there.
So really the top cap came before the tool then?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, the top cap precedes the tool.
That's pretty crazy. I would have guessed the other way around. So
yeah, I mean, on my gravel bike, I have that style. I usually carry the tool in the pump on my gravel bike just because I always have the pump. But it's lighter than a star nut and a little bit easier to deal with once you get over the mental hurdle of tapping, which we'll get into a bit after. So the threaded, the person that it's best for is probably like it's the most common way that the EWS athletes will carry their tool. It works on the most amount of forks. So like a Fox 38, for example, if you want to run the full EDC, you have to tap the steer tube.
Right. Yeah, this new carrier does not fit in a 38, right?
No, it fits in. It doesn't fit on the high-end 38s. So any of the 38s that have the ovalized internal diameter, it doesn't clear it.
Yeah.
I think maybe if you had like a crazy long steer tube, it might. Like if you had like a 13-inch steer tube, you might be able to get it in there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Or just like maybe, that's just speculation. We do have the specific information of how many millimeters you need on the on the website. But yeah, so that is a lot of staff at OneUp actually still run the threaded version.
Well, for sure it's going to be lighter. So especially if you have the tap around, like that's a great way to go, is just tapping it and putting in the old school top cap. But for those of us that don't want to buy the tap or don't have like a full shop at our disposal, this is like a little bit easier way to mount it in, right?
Yeah. It's also the top cap is the least expensive way of doing it, because the top cap, the threadless carrier, it's a bigger piece of aluminum. It's got a bolt, it's got a bottom cap, it's a little bit more material, it's a little bit more cost associated with that. The threadless for sure is the simplest way to install and get the full EDC. Like you literally just remove your star nut, put it in, put the cap and the bolt from the bottom. It's really quick.
I think it's pretty cool. Speaking of that, you include like 3 different length bolts just to fit every need. Like you're just thinking it out, providing everything. That makes things so easy for your customers. So that's really nice.
Yeah, and that's something that goes through, with bikes having, so many different variables, from like frame size to, different axle spacing, different types of standards. Like that kind of compatibility is something that we try to remove the guesswork from the rider who's buying the stuff, and just they can just install whatever you need.
And I think that helps like from a shop side too. I think a lot of our viewers are bike shops and bike shop employees, so it just means you have to like stock less variants too. You're like, okay, we just need one of these, it's going to fit all of our customers or 99% of our customers' bikes. And it just lowers your SKU count. Like that makes things better for us, the distributor, the shop, everyone. So cool.
Yeah. And then the last sort of head tube EDC is EDC Lite, which is it fits in
right here.
Yeah, like it fits in like pretty much not every single bike, but it fits in pretty much anything that has a conventional old school star nut in it. Like you put it in commuters, you put it in kids bikes, like some people have them in their children's run bikes.
You're ready to go. Adjust your handlebar at any moment's notice, little kid.
Yeah, like I've even got one in my dirt jumper, and that's super handy because no one ever has tools of the dirt jumps unless you bring your backpack, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
So it is a little bit different tool that fits in that EDC Lite, right? So that's all included in one.
Yeah, and it's got the little the little plastic pop top thing. Yeah.
Yep. So there it is, the pop top that just slides right off the tool, and it's just the same tool but without the chain tool essentially.
Yeah.
Cool. Put this back together here. And then it just drops into the carrier. And this carrier is just kind of taking the place of the top cap, but you're still using the star nut.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that you would need is like in terms of special tool is just a longer 5mm Allen key.
Right.
Because you put your top cap on, you screw the bolt in that comes with it, the installation bolt, hammer it in with a hammer. That'll drop it down to the appropriate depth, and then unscrew the bolt, drop in the carrier, and then drop in the
bolt that actually goes through there. Yeah. Sweet. That thing is super simple and cool. So, I mean, I could see this working for a lot of mountain bikers even that maybe wouldn't traditionally use the full EDC. Like you just don't want to mess with your chain or don't have a use for that kind of more complicated setup. This is super easy. So I commend you for making that a nice option.
Yeah, and for like some of our athletes who compete in enduro will have EDC Lite in the steer tube, and then the pump on the frame with the full EDC tool preloaded with like I actually have one right here. the Christmas presents, actually. The bacon strips and the plug, like the jabber. So, they'll ride with that preloaded, ready to go. So then if they get a flat, they can just grab the pump out, put it in, jab it, good to go. And then if you need an Allen key, then that'll be there in the center.
Sweet.
It seems like, so there's just so many options and so many little tools that are fit around. I think that's a huge benefit for your athletes and probably a lot of riders out there too. Okay, so it sounds like the top cap is sticking around. You're going to keep having people thread the steer tube. And that's a good option for the lightest and probably, a great option for the vast majority of people, unless you just want to avoid that threading process for some reason.
Yeah, I think it's just a mental barrier for being people who've worked in shops. Like for me, it's like, oh yeah, just tap it, like it's fine. But it's kind of a new experience for some people. And especially having a BMX background, a lot of the BMX forks are actually threaded on the inside like that. And those things are made for some pretty serious abuse. Yeah,
super strong setup, right? Yeah, cool. Okay, so another kind of unique group of products that I wanted to ask you about was the Switch chain rings, and then the Switch carrier here too. So this seems like another, you guys really just created something super unique and the kind of proprietary, but you have a whole bunch of different carriers that fit on a variety of cranks and offer different spacings, and then just the chain ring to go along with it, and both in round or oval, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we make them in, I think, 28 to 34 tooth options. And they all oval or round. It has, same circumference, so you can still run a chain guide with the oval. That one it's really sweet, because if you change chain rings, which at some point in the season, depending how much you ride, you're going to have to do, you can do it without having to remove your crank.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Which is it's super handy. And if you're running the OneUp chain guide, you don't even need to remove the chain guide. You can just flip the little the plastic thing on the top guide and then just pull the chain ring off. This goes to also what we were talking about earlier about all the different standards. So, if you change cranks, if you change frames, if you're moving things over from one another, as opposed to getting a whole new chain ring, and chain rings are they get pretty expensive pretty quick.
Big time,
yeah, just that replacement ring, I think it's $42, and then you can move it over to, or just replace the carrier if you're switching to a different frame or a different crank standard.
Right, sweet.
And well, it seems pretty interesting to me too that you just loosen the bolts on this to pull the chain ring off. So you could conceivably, even change chain rings between race runs at an enduro race or something like that if you saw the need. Super quick and easy with that option, right?
Yeah, big time. It's super easy to do. You don't have to fumble with the bolts and finding the little backing things. It all just stays in there. You just turn them out 2 cranks, rotate it and pull it off.
Yeah, rotate the ring right off. Cool. That's super unique. Where do you see this replacing all chain rings in some way or another, or is this maybe this customer has a specific need for swapping chain rings quickly and easily? Because you also make traditional chain rings too, right?
Well, we make traditional chain rings, but only in 104 BCD. So that nowadays you'll see that on e-bikes. Those are a little bit more commonly used. But for a conventional non-motorized mountain bike with it's mostly to, the real reason behind the Switch system is to offer a lower cost and easier way to replace a wear part, which is the chain ring.
Sweet.
It definitely makes a lot of sense. And I can see a lot of people going this way and just having to replace less each time they do it. So cool option. All right, cool. So I since we had this oval ring, I just wanted to ask if you run oval or round. Have you tried them both? Well,
I've tried them both. I went back to round. I don't know. For me, it's kind of like a vanity thing where I just like the look of a round chain ring.
There's something to say about that. I agree.
Yeah. But you know what? The office again, we're kind of split. Some people are running the oval, some people are running round. And I do notice if I'm following someone on a really steep technical climb who's on an oval chainring, and I have a specific Chris Hanen, one of the founders. I was following him of a really technical climb in Squamish, and he's riding super slowly. And we have the same size chainring, same size wheels, everything. He's riding super slowly, but he's just like able to get up over this little crux. I'm like, how did you do that? He's like, oh, I have the oval one. It actually gives me a bit of a mechanical advantage.
It's not just that I'm stronger than you. It's the oval ring for sure.
Well, so you can run around ring and just use that as your crutch. Like, oh, I'm running round rings. I can't pull these climbs off.
Totally. There's a good reason to keep round rings around right there. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So you guys make this huge variety of products, like even grips. We've covered pumps, handlebars, straps. Like, oh man, there's so many. Is there one product you think maybe that your customers don't appreciate or notice? Something that flies under the radar that's like super cool you want to talk about?
I don't know. I feel like it's our most we're the most well known for the EDC thing. But for me, before I worked at OneUp, I didn't run the EDC tool in my steer tube. It just seemed like something that I didn't really need. Like, you mountain bike, you ride with a tool in your pocket. It's just the way you've always done it. Mm-hmm. And then I started running the system, and now I don't think I'd want to have a bike without it. It just really becomes like kind of second nature to have your tools in your bike. You don't need to remember them. They're just always there. Yeah. So I'd say that's like maybe not under the radar because we're pretty well known for the EDC. But if there was a product that I don't think people realize how sweet it is the chain guide. Like, nice. Our chain guide is so good. Like, I remember installing it for the first time, and it's just like, you don't have to do, maybe this is just me having installed a bunch of chain guides on a bunch of old bikes, trying to find the right, like bottle cage spacers to make your ISCG thing line up. But you just bolt it on, and then you use plastic spacers on the top. And even something as simple as the finding the right depth for the top.
Right.
You put the Allen key in, and then when the Allen key hits your chain, you're at the right depth.
Nice.
It's just, there's no tuning involved. You just put it in, you drop it down, you snug it up, and you're good to go.
That's cool. I haven't installed one of those before, but that's like a nice little touch that someone was thinking about, like the real use when they built that. Put the bolt in the right spot with the hole all the way through. I mean, easy, simple, but like super, just like click, boom, this works great. That's cool.
Yeah, no, the chain guide is super sweet. It's like the installation process is great. And the top kits come in a bunch of colors. You can replace them super easily. Like,
I was just about to say, all those colors, that's another super unique thing. You could really like match your bike in a unique way that not a lot of other chain guide manufacturers offer. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Okay, let's see here. Well, for sure, like the pump, EDC, some of the stuff kind of comes in at expensive price, but it comes with the trade-off of being innovative or, a lot of value. I think you're getting a lot from the product. And then other products you make are really inexpensive. So like the dropper post, for example, is actually quite inexpensive compared to a lot of competitors. So I guess my question is really like, how are you able to keep up the quality while still offering such great value on these products? Even if they are expensive, it's like they just offer something extra in a way, or they're less expensive. So it just seems like that's kind of another part of the ethos of OneUp, and I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, and it kind of it ties back to that same thing of like, making the stuff that we want to have on our bikes. It's like, we don't necessarily want to be buying the most, like, we're not like a super fancy like luxury product. Like, it's not, the products are, built to be the best performance you could ever possibly need. And then just be really, really, functional. But also, like, value is important because, like, we want to have stuff on our bikes that doesn't doesn't make us have to work an extra job, you know?
Right.
So there's that. And there's also just like the strength of our engineering team, that they really think through absolutely everything, not just from like, you know, okay, we'll design a product, and then, you know, they having that like a wealth of experience, they know like from the manufacturing process to, you know, shipping costs to all that stuff, to just like even like different tools that are being used in the factories to make this stuff. There's ways to just be really efficient. And they like, OneUp definitely prides itself on being able to make amazing products that come in at a really, you know, competitive price.
Yeah, so it's kind of like part of the design process then, even at the engineering level. It's right off the bat, it was like, how can we kind of make this valuable to our customers for whatever price it is? So.
Yeah, and then like beyond, so it starts with that, and then it goes to stuff like warranties. Like if you make a product that has a high fail rate, that increases the price of your product. You got to
charge more for it. Yeah,
you got to charge more for it. So we make stuff that is serviceable, like stuff that to begin with has a long life and is really durable and strong and has a low failure rate. But then also, if you like to prolong the life of that product, you know, everything, I think pretty much everything we make, we sell service kits, we have the instructions for it. It's all pretty, you know, easy to take apart and put back together and maintain. The dropper post is a good example. Like we make the different size shims. So there's a couple of reasons that product exists. One of them is that the tolerances on different, you know, a 30.9 seat tube on one bike versus a 30.9 on another might not be exactly the same. So those shims, if there's a little bit of play, you just change the shim, and then, you know, you drop your post up and down 40,000 times. Stuff's gonna there's things that you can replace and wear out, and then you just place the little pins, and then you're right back up to like brand new, no play.
Yeah, totally. I noticed in our warehouse we do have a ton of small parts too, so it's like easy to get for our customers as well. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah, the dropper post was kind of what I had in mind too. I think that's a cool product with like the cartridges are all available, everything to do rebuilds and stuff. So neat.
Yeah, another thing too, we're still a pretty small team. Like everybody kind of covers a lot of stuff, so we don't have like a huge amount of overhead as a company, so we can really focus on, you know, delivering the value through the products. Yeah,
that makes sense. In that regard, it must have been a bit of a challenge to kind of scale up during our current bike boom that we're in right now. For a small company, I'm sure that's one of the hardest challenges, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I started at OneUp kind of about a year ago. So right in the middle of this bike boom, and the changes that COVID brought to the industry. So I'm part of that
scale up right there. Yeah.
That scale up, but you know, we scaled up. I don't know, like I think I was part of. There's 16 of us who work at OneUp. So cool. You know, we're not a massive team, but everybody wears a couple hats. Everybody's, you know, really experienced, really thoughtful people. So it's and there's like a crazy amount of collaboration that happens too, which is really good.
Cool. I think it sounds like that would be necessary just with how many products you have, how much you know, it's uptake around the industry, like pro riders on it all over the place. That there's just so much that goes into OneUp and so much that you put back out with such a small team. That's unique, and I'm sure it goes a long way to keeping the cost down too. So very cool. Okay, I was wondering, you guys actually donate a portion of your proceeds each year. Can you talk a little bit about that, where it goes, why you do it, how much it is, all that?
Yeah, so it's 1% of all sales goes to kind of a mix of like environmental organizations and mountain bike organizations. So like locally, we support the Squamish Off-Road Cycling Association, which is the Squamish, you know, mountain bike association. They maintain the trails, they build the trails. Like that community is so close to us and so important to us that we really support them. They're one of our like closest partners. And then the Pemberton Off-Road Cycling Association, just north, them also, Fraser Valley Mountain Bike Association, which is kind of east of Vancouver, which is an area that is definitely worth visiting and riding. for anyone up in this exploring the south coast of BC.
I've heard that area is really unique. Cool.
Yeah. There's not as many rocks there. It's really like Squamish has like all the slabs and stuff. Whistler's like kind of like loose and rocky, like more rough. But the Fraser Valley is just dirt. Like it's just like and huge elevation drop, pretty steep grade. It's they got some really fun riding there.
Sweet.
And then beyond the local community mountain bike associations, which are like are the stuff we really focus on supporting. There's World Bicycle Relief, and then in more of like the kind of conservation and environmental stuff, there's the Rainforest Trust. They protect like critical habitats in not in North America. The Pisgah Conservancy. So they sort of help maintain and protect the Pisgah Ranger District in that like Brevard area.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, which is another super cool location and like a really interesting forests and great trail network that gets a lot of traffic. And the network there is so massive that they definitely need a bit of outside support to maintain that stuff. And then Eden Reforestation Projects, which is a company that kind of invests in planting trees. They just plant millions of trees, and their reforestation projects are also kind of like economic boons for the areas where they do them.
Sweet. So it looked to me like you've been donating to more and more different groups over the last several years. So just as sales grow, you just have to find more people to give money to.
Yeah. Like as we grow, so does our ability to give back, which is really cool. And we're right now planning, like we're in kind of the last planning phases for 2022. So in January, we should be able to, list to release we have a couple of new partners, a couple local ones, and some more environmental projects also that we'll be supporting.
Very cool. Yeah, I love it. All right. So you talked a little bit about being based in Squamish. Like, what's the best part of living there? I think that's kind of a dream, place we all want to visit as mountain bikers, but let me hear it.
Yeah. Well, I live in Whistler, so for me, it's, kind of a downgrade to go down there, but they got some good trails in Squamish. No, I'm just joking. The riding there is amazing. It's like really, really cool variety, both in terms of terrain and in terms of like trail design and what there is. So like, yeah. And the OneUp office is, we pedal from the office a pretty regular basis, to go there. That's definitely one of the best parts. The reason that those guys, that Sam, Chris, and John started in Squamish is because they were working in the city at the time in Vancouver. They wanted to come out there. They wanted to, be closer to the trails, be closer to just like a more like riding centric community.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what Squamish is. Like the mountain bike community in Squamish is insanely like healthy. Like there's so many people digging, so many people riding, so many people just like being engaged in events. Like it's really cool. And it's like across the whole spectrum. You got tiny little kids, you got, the families going out together. You got, all the regular guys you'd expect to see riding. There's a massive women's riding community there. Like,
yeah, cool.
Like very, very, very like apparent. Like when you go out and ride, you notice that there's tons of ladies out riding, and it's really cool to see. Yeah, and so another so there's the riding, which is like the obvious thing, but there's also the South Coast. Like Squamish is kind of in the middle of the Sea to Sky corridor. So you got North Van and Pemberton, Whistler. But there's athletes, there's photographers, there's cinematographers. Like there's so many just like people to help you like capture the feeling of mountain biking around your brand. So that's really, really helpful too. Cause like, yeah, if you need to find a photographer, there's like so many photographers who just live in town. It's just, it makes it easy for that sense. A lot of the athletes that we support live in Squamish, which helps too.
Yeah. So as a brand, you have all these extra resources there that you can just get things done quickly and locally. Yeah, that's huge and makes a big difference. And probably not a lot of places in the US that it's so condensed with so many pros and all the other people that you need to get the stuff done, both content creation, product testing, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty wild. Like, and even like, the other bike brands and other industry stuff that's in the area too.
Totally. Tons of other brands based right around that community. So neat. Cool, man. That's really like all I had planned. Do you have anything else you want to throw in? Anything we didn't cover today? Like, you guys just make so many products. Like, I totally forgot that you make, axles. Like,
yeah. What do we do? Axles. We didn't talk about pedals, but that's like pedals are.
Yeah, pedals are super popular from our catalog. I know we usually don't even put them on the shelf. They'll just come in one door and right out the other. So we sell a lot of OneUp pedals.
Yeah. Do you have composite or alloy?
We both of them for sure. Yeah.
No, I don't know. I think that's about it for me.
Sweet. I know your pro team's been pretty active this last year or two. That seems like a cool outreach for the company. But that racing is something like I in my own riding, like I've been an avid race fan. There's a bunch of us at the office that are just big fans of mountain bike racing. So being able to be like so closely involved with athletes and just support those teams and just watch the progress of like a local athlete like Casper, who like Casper Woolley. If you haven't seen that guy ride a bike in person, it's pretty impressive. Like he's got a strong BMX racing background. So he just has like all this power out of the bike and just really, really meticulous rider. And he had a breakthrough. Like I'd call it a breakthrough season, but I kind of hoping the next year is really his breakthrough season in the racing. But I think he had several top 10s, even maybe a couple top 5s or something. I was pretty surprised and stoked for that guy to do so well and fly your guys' flag at the same time. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the pro team with Yeti has been really good. We also went out and filmed a bit of like a team edit at the end of the season.
Nice.
Yeah, which is just pretty cool. We haven't got a set date for that though, but in the new year it'll be coming out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll keep my eye out for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Well, I just want to invite our viewers, if you have any questions, you can toss them down in the comments below. Any other brands you want to see interviews with, we'd love to hear some suggestions from you. Hope you enjoyed our interview with Quinn from OneUp. Quinn, thanks so much for joining us today. And sweet. All right. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more videos from BTI's Fresh Produce. And thanks for watching today. All right. Bye-bye.